course, Chicago was a hotbed for aluminum tree production. First company that had a patented aluminum tree, which was handmade, was made by a company called Modern Coatings, made in Chicago in 1958. And with it being handmade, the retail price on a 6-foot tree was between $75 and $85. So it was very expensive for the average person to be able to purchase a tree at that time. In 1959, there was a company by the name of Aluminum Specialty Company out of Manitowoc, Wisconsin, who specialized in making a lot of aluminum kitchenware. They figured out how to assemble an aluminum tree in a production, mass production, so they were able to bring the price down considerably and make it more reachable for the average person. Their first year, 1959, you basically have these components to make an aluminum tree. You had the pole that you put together, and then in this first year, you actually had to assemble the Christmas tree branch itself. You had to slide these down, all the way down to the bottom of the pole here, and then tape them all, and then you would go ahead and you would insert them into the pole like that. And 58 branches later, this is a 4-foot model, you have a complete tree and be ready for the holidays. So after their customer feedback on the difficulty of putting the branches together, they figured out a way to have the branch completely assembled starting in 1959, so that then all they had to do was slide it out of a paper sleeve and then again just go ahead and start to assemble it inside the top of the post and then build your tree that way. So there were a number of Christmas tree companies in Chicago that made aluminum trees. Chicago was one of the main sources in the U.S. Also, they had the idea of flocking a Christmas tree, which became very popular in the 1960s, where they would spray the tree in various colors. This was an aluminum tree that they sprayed in green to make it look as natural as it could be. And then also there's one in the back here that was white. And again, it's an aluminum tree that was flocked in color. They advertised flocking as a way to help extend the life of your cut live Christmas tree. That was one of the marketing presentations on the idea of flocking. So, I said there were a number of people here in Chicago that made them, and the first years when the aluminum trees came out on the market, if you looked at either on the box or in the instructions, they all had cautioned you against putting any lighted Christmas light strings on the tree in case there would be a short somewhere and that you might get hurt. The company in Chicago, there's one company that came up with the idea of actually making one that's illuminated. And what they did was they made the aluminum tree and then they put a transformer on it so that the voltage is very low, that you couldn't get hurt or shocked with it. That was the only company that's known that made an illuminated aluminum Christmas tree. So the popularity of the aluminum trees went from 1958 all the way through about 1969. They were starting to get out of the use of aluminum. They were trying to use other things than aluminum. So in the late 60s in particular, they started to make what I call a transition tree. This gold and white tree over here in the corner, the gold needles on the tree are made out of aluminum, but the white needles on there are made out of vinyl. And I have the next model that came out that was all white and all vinyl needles. So you had that roughly 10, 11 year spread where the aluminum trees were very popular, and then they faded out into the artificial plastic trees and the brush, like a toilet bowl brush type of...
How did you get interested in collecting, and what is your favorite tree?
I collect all early Christmas in particular, but as a kid, I always remembered seeing a silver Christmas tree, and in 1987 at a local flea market I discovered the first colored tree, which was a green one, and so once I found out that there might be other colors, I started looking for them, and then we came up with all of these variations here. A lot of the visual textures to take a look at. There was some some people that had colored tips on them, some people that had ornaments on the tips, some of them had colored flared ends, some of them had different twists in the patterns with the way the needles were put together on the tree. And then on the more expensive models, they all had varied lengths on the length of the Christmas branches. This silver tree here, which has 385 branches on it, has 22 different branch lengths to assemble it.
Which one's your favorite?
And I have to go with the illuminated one because of the scarcity of it. It's
Which
not
is
the most visually pretty one. That's the one with the star on the top down there with the lights on it. Just because of the significance of there was only one company that came out with one that actually was illuminated with the light set on it and was safe to use. The Polk Brothers Santas in the display were a giveaway by Polk Brothers from about 1962 to 1964. And when you bought a major purchase of an appliance, you were even given the opportunity to acquire a Jolly Polk Santa Claus or the Jolly Polk Snowman over here in the corner. And so they were, you saw a lot of them on people's front porches in the 1960s. So they were a giveaway when you made a major purchase at Polk Brothers in Chicago. It takes a long time, trying to put them together. This tree by itself was 2.5 hours just to put all the branches in. So it's time consuming, to put them together.
But it's just gorgeous. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, glad to enjoy it.